Unfortunately, I'm in a coffee place with a really lame internet connection. Okay. I'm actually speaking with you over the phone. Maybe I will be able to catch up afterwards. Otherwise, I would be just happy to listen and see the steps, and afterwards would try to recreate them by myself.
Okay. So let's see.
And of course, if there will be a recording, that would be a great reference.
I'm trying stream quality, get this. Go live. Do you see something?
Hi, is my mic working?
Now, yes.
We see something, and no, your mic is not working.
Okay.
So let's see. I mean, let's start with the repository just quickly to say what this is, basically how I structured it, and then you can always ask me. I have some notes, but yeah, basically, I think since the beginning, I'm using this repository because I did not know how to set up my Tmux and other kind of tools. So when I was following this hard guide, easy mode, hard mode, I remember back then I was like, okay, maybe I can just build a Dockerfile, and I try to keep tweaking it until I get some working environment. And indeed, that was the case. So basically, this is the Dockerfile. There is no magic in it. The first thing is that it's 3 stages or multiple stages. Is the font good, or I can make it a little bit bigger?
Yeah, I can read.
It's good better now.
Okay. Yeah, so like there is basically this first stage where we install Rust, so we don't have to every time. I mean, that was also one of the points that, okay, you don't have to install Rust every time. So this installs Rust. I think I just copied these from, there were many Docker images that Libra has, the repository. So I'm just following that. And then another layer, which is the source. It just basically checks out the code, doesn't do anything else. Maybe it adds the some environment variable, and then it also checks out the branch. So it checks out the from a particular repository and from a particular branch. Then the third layer, make bins. Now that we have the source, we make the binaries, and then the final layer, which is the production, is just an empty Ubuntu image that copies what has been built and places them in the path. So that's the whole like architecture of this Docker image. So you can imagine when you see that there is something running, then depending if you are running the production image, which is the last one, then you only have the binaries. If you are running the builder image, it means you have the source plus build binaries, and if you are running the source image, you just have the source, and there is no specific image for the Rust.
And in general, you are recommending to run it all within the containers, not on the bare metal of the machine. Like both for validator as well as for development purposes.
I mean, for this is mostly used for really operations. So I'm using this image when I am running. So for example, let's go to this machine.
Your validator, is
My
it on bare
validator.
metal or in?
It's a bare metal machine, but it doesn't matter. All we care about is that I have a machine, and then I have Docker installed. I have Docker installed. I think there is also Docker Compose. And then
What about all the network wiring,
There
from
is-
the container, outside ports, etc.?
there is the current Docker compose. So I was going to talk about that next. Already has some mapping, like default kind of. There are some defaults for the different services, and then we have the main services, which are the node, the tower, the monitor. I'm not using the monitor, but basically let's look at the node and the tower. At the moment, I'm using the host mode. So if you look at the defaults, you will find that I'm using the network mode as host, the PID also as host. I was needing them because the monitor does not see processes from other service, but now I see that I have never used the monitor for a long time. So it's possible, I guess, if we switch off the network mode and the PID mode to like just comment these out, and then we are left with a bridge network. That should work. Then if you have the bridge network, then here the port mapping happens, that the host 6179 or the host 6180 or the host 8080 are mapped
Yes, to host.
to the service. And I heard from Abed that, for example, he has multiple installations, and then you can also specify the IP. So if your host has multiple IPs and you want to run the VFN and the validator on the same machine, you can map from a different IP, different port to the service and so on. This way you are able to.
It's a really nice idea. That can be really useful on the same machine running both services.
Yeah, again, depending of the
Or
machine.
just the service name instead of the IP. I think it uses the service name as a DNS.
But you have like when you are so for example, you see here we have the service name called node, and then depending on the environment variable, we will talk about that, it assumes a role of a validator or a VFN or full node. You can of course just duplicate this, but if I would suggest that each one has its own kind of set up, so they are not like reading from the same file system and so on. And when you do that, you want that if you get a traffic to your host, that the traffic, obviously, for example, here I have this IP is my validator IP and this one is my VFN. So I want the service, for example, the validator service, to receive traffic only if the traffic is coming from this IP. So you have to do that. If the services are communicating with each other, yes, you can definitely use the service name. But in our case, the traffic is really coming from outside. So yeah, that's not so we don't immediately jump to this. I wanted to show. Yeah, I mean, of course, we are talking about the Docker Compose. So here it is. There are some defaults. Defaults like, for example, we are always mounting the volume, 2 volumes, which are the node, one volume called node data, another one called the epoch archive. This thing that you can configure them. So there are environment variable, OL data dir, and OL epoch archive dir. Good thing is that once you configure them, you don't care where they live on your machine, but always all your Libra binaries, they seize them in the same place, which is where we mount them. For example, /root/OL. I was always having this that you have to pass the config path or something, but if you just mount the correct volume, then you always have the right access to the epoch archive and to the Libra folder, which is normally in the root. Another thing, which is this ulimits, the thing how many files are open or how many processes. Many people always forget about this. and then you start getting these weird errors. So we set them all for all the processes. Then we have like the environment file, which we will talk about. So there is this example, and then here are the, as I said, are the services. So the node can play 3 roles. The tower is just running the tower. Monitor, I'm not using it, but this is like the web monitor. Then there are some utility services. We will talk about these later. But just to go over the environment, which is basically how you control this whole setup.
A moment about the monitor. So you're not using the monitor, you're not, like your validator is not reporting to the Prometheus?
No, that's different. That's a web monitor.
There is this web monitor.
Sorry, the web monitor, right?
Yeah, on port 3030, that's just like a kind of a web page that tells you, oh, your validator is running or something.
Yeah.
It should work with this image.
Is this the one on the port 3030?
Yes.
Okay.
One question. Do you also configure anywhere where the log files end up from the log files of the node and the tower?
Not really. I'm not configuring any logging here. What I do is basically utilizing the Docker logging. So when you are, let's go to the machine. So here, if I go to the operations and then the compose logs, I want to see the last 100 logs for the node. Then I just get this. There is a downside of it that if you restart the container or if you want to see really older logs, you don't see them because maybe the container is gone and then therefore also its logs. But I don't also have to take care of about rotating the files and everything. I guess this is like a Docker thing where I guess you are able to configure the service and then configure how its logging happens. But it's always better that from the std out, then you are capturing and saving them somewhere and not really doing this manually. So this later on, if somebody is interested, there are multiple drivers that maybe you want to send your logs to syslog, or you want to send them to this logz service or Elasticsearch or something. Then there are drivers from Docker, but what you care about is that your logs are being printed on the console, and that makes you able to easily see them like this. Or maybe I want to see the node and the tower. It's also possible, and so on. But yeah, I don't.
Yeah, in my case, I put this default JSON file as a driver, and I rotate the files.
Okay, that's also a good way. But are you actually using some similar setup?
Yeah, I had one. Yeah, I have one Docker Compose which I created in the beginning, but it's not organized as yours. I did not separate the services. I put everything in one service.
I see.
In one container.
Cool. At least, but I like just seeing somebody doing similar thing, just to know that okay, there is some stability.
Yeah, I think yours should be the standard for OL.
It works for me. It works for multiple people, but I never had the chance to do what I'm doing right now.
I see also that you are pulling the v5.1.1.
This is example config. So this one was so in the how-to you create the env, you copy the example.env. I guess the one that I'm actually using is the main branch. So if I open my env, I'm using the main branch. And then there is this image. I guess that was 5.20, if I remember correctly, at least when I built the image. I'm not tagging it, but yeah, we will talk about how to build different images and how this image sharing is really convenient because all we need to do is just change this environment and then we are good to go. So here we are talking about the different configurations. So for example, you choose which repository. I'm using the main upstream. I want the main branch, and then I want an image, like to tag this image, whether it's built already or if I want to build it. So you can use your GitHub, you can use your Docker Hub username and a repository. You can use mine as well. So I have multiple images here. See, I built a lot from, I think, first one, when was that? Yeah, December 2021. So when we were starting to build this thing, different images. I was recently trying to build different images that have Python in them so I can automate some wallet operations and stuff. I would not use these, pretty dangerous. But the rehearsal ones, for example. But I think the most stable image is this release 520. Not the source, not the builder, just the main image.
I use two different from you. I think 520 is for me the image for my Docker validator, for example. So that's perfectly fine for the node.
Yeah.
And what I pretty much tell everybody that I onboard as a validator is to use the 511 for the tower. So we usually always just first install the 5.2 and then we see the tower is running into all sorts of problems.
I see.
Then I say, hey, how about you make a little Docker container onto the same machine?
I see.
There we run the 511 tower from the 511 image, and then it usually all works fine.
Or 513. 513 RC3 is the one that that I'm using for the image. So if you look at my, where was that? So if I'm looking here, oops, I think I am in another. Oh, here. So Docker PS. You see that I'm running the validator on main image. I'm running a shell service on main image, and my tower is 513 RC3. So I mean that's the flexibility. That's the cool thing about having the setup that you create. So we will do this. For example, I am on another machine here. I want to run my VFN. I have been having it off for a long time. So let's say here I am in the thing. I will make dir the VFN, cd the VFN, and then here I need two directories. One is the operation, or I can just clone the repository. There is the the epoch archive, I guess. This is needed, and then the OL, which will have my configuration, and then I clone the operations repository. So let's take this. I will put it in operations. So now if I go with the VFN better like that. Cool. So this is literally how you kind of instantiate a Libra workspace. And then I think you will have to modify a few things. So for example, we have to do this example file. Maybe we can just copy it. Can we do that? Yeah. No. Yeah.
I only see your web browser now.
Mm-hmm.
If you're on the console, then I would not see that right now.
Really?
Yeah. It's hanging on the web browser.
Oh,
Yeah, now it was there.
Okay.
Now I saw VS Code.
Now back?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so like for example, I will use the 520 image. I will use also the 520 image. I can configure the OL data. So this would be this one. So how can we copy its path? And then the epoch archive also. The project name, it can be OL. I can call it, call it VFN. The node mode, the OL node mode will be VFN. I think the tower is useless in this case. The Rust log, this looks fine. So if while we are on this VFN, we go to the operations, Docker, compose, up. No, I think I need to copy up the node. I think I need to copy. So now it's pulling the image, and it did not find the 5.20 image. So we go, maybe check the tags. Release v2 image, this one. Release v2.0, try that again. I think I need to, yeah, of course, I don't have, I need to onboard my VFN. Is there anybody who remembers that? But good thing, for example, I can run this shell service. So when I say task shell, now I am in a shell service that is CDing to the content of this folder. So that's why it's empty. But if I will say touch A, then it really added it here. But now I think there is some kind of, maybe Michael, do you remember what was the VFN onboarding command?
No.
There was this. It's kind. Let's dig into the.
Don't feel bad, Michael.
Mm-hmm. I think somewhere it's like kind of OL on board or something validator, just to create the config, basically to create this ol.toml. Normally, and the account.json is,
Can't you do it with OL init or something?
Well, let's try.
Onboarding.
I don't think I need mnemonics for this.
No, VFN doesn't need an account. Huh?
Yeah. I think the only thing you need is just to have like ol.toml like that. So I will just copy it and create one there. Let's rename this to ol.toml. And then
I always copied over all the files. I always made one validator and then copied all to the VFN so that I can also quickly switch between the two if I ever had to.
Yeah.
Make the second machine a validator if I need.
I think here I will need an OL restore for sure. So OL restore should give me some database. All right, I got the database. And I have I got a full node.yaml from the OL restore, and I got a key store.json, that's empty one as well. Let's see, I mean, I will close the shell service and I will again docker compose up node. And what does it say? It needs the vfn.node.yaml. I can confirm. I will copy it from my. Definitely, we will have to find these guys by doing some OL command that I don't know what it is right now. But basically, all I need to do is to create this file. What is it called? vfn.node.yaml. And here it's content. Waypoint configure. I don't know. Let's run it again.
I mean, you should have that stuff. Huh? I mean, you always do a VFN for a validator node, right? And when you onboard your validator, it will create all the files. There's also a VFN node YAML in the OL directory of your validator, and usually you just copy over those.
Yeah, I copied. Like I just copied the OL toml and I just copied the vfn.node.yaml. So now it's saying variable is not set default attaching to, but for some reason it's not like starting or something. Oh, here it's starting. And it's
wasn't it OL init VFN?
You think?
Initialize the VFN?
Yeah, we can. I mean, now that we already we can. So we go to the task. That's every time you want to do something, you just go to the task. Let me create another shell so I can open and then go to the operation, and then you have the different tasks. So the different tasks, if you list them, you have like the shell, you have the source, you have the builder. Each one opens the same image for you, but with some kind of extra or less tools. But if you open the shell, it means you have only the binaries. So ol init VFN, like that. Or maybe it's definitely
it was 2 dashes.
2 dashes.
I just put it in the comments there. Yeah.
This task is a new container, or is it connected to the previous container?
It's. I mean, when you say task shell, it's always the same. It's always the same container. So if we go to operations, Docker PS, wow, we launched a lot of. Okay, sorry. Let me not do the Docker PS, Docker Compose, because this machine has a lot of other things. So Docker Compose PS, and here I am running the shell only. It could not create a file exiting. Why? Because key not set basic. So I think you can only create this if you first create the validator, then you have the key store. But because I created the file, I think I was just able to run and it was so if I'm launching the VFN like that, and it seems to be synchronizing already. I have to wait a little bit. I mean, some time for it to restore. But by this we launched the VFN. I definitely need to remember. Let me add this, like add validator and VFN initializing commands. But yeah, I don't know, what do you think? The same goes, like for example, whenever we want to modify the config, do something in the OL toml, which we used to always have these, like, oh guys, please modify something, do something. So it makes it much easier to either modify it and then restart the node by basically killing your Docker service, or just like how we did now. You create a new folder, you check out the operation repository, you create the OL and the epoch archive directories, and then you do the initialization or copy your files, the needed ones, and then you are good to go within kind of a new workspace. And they don't have to be on the same version. They can be on different version, doesn't matter, as long as each one has its own kind of env, so you can configure it the way you like. How Michael was saying that, for example, we want to have the tower using a different image, then from the operations you go to Docker Compose and then you can override. So for example, if we are running the tower, we would like to have a different image, and you can put the image which is, I don't know, for example, a good one that does not have this problem to repeat itself is this one. Like to keep remining for some reason. So this one, I guess the VFN is working fine. You can imagine scenarios where you can run multiple towers if you want. You can run, we can see what we can do. So for example, I have another machine here where I am running, let's see, if I go to this machine. So this is the machine, and it has some towers, it has a shell service, and it has the builder service. So from the builder service, I went to Docker to VS Code, and I attached VS Code to the builder service, and now I am able to see the code, and I can, for example, even debug it or do something with it. Like I was able to, I think there was this debug configuration, and I can run the tower and I can do some debugging. Okay, it will take some time maybe to compile a new tower for me.
So the moment you are currently debugging the tower inside a container on a remote machine.
Yes,
correct?
Exactly that.
Beautiful.
So
For me, the beauty is more like the execution side. I'm coming from the background of a bank, which needs a ton of IT internationally, and this IT must not fail, because, I don't know, if some component fails, then Volkswagen cannot do any leasing contracts anymore, then they don't sell cars in that moment. And somewhere around the world, some dealers will be really, really pissed. So it has to run. And the beauty of this container thing, which in a professional environment might be Kubernetes instead of Docker, but that's basically the same, is I want to roll it out in the various data centers, in the main data center, fallback data center, Chinese data center, because it has to be different, and Russian as well, with practically zero chances that it goes wrong, and very, very fast. I've got a fix, it's in a container, everybody's told, okay, new fix to deploy, and it's easy. It will go through it. I think for a production environment, if our chain is really running with smart contracts and in focus of the public, I believe it might make operations much smoother here and there if we don't have to fiddle around with compiling the new image, and then for some people it fails. Here's also some things to consider, like the destination system. If we roll out a compiled image, it will only be okay for one processor architecture. So I don't know, we might need various images for different processors if people use them. But besides that, it's very easy to prepare, and the rollout is super smooth.
Yeah, I mean, for example, when I was so let's say for whatever reason, while the VFN is working, I can I can just decide that I really want to build from OD's image. So let's see where he messaged me. So, but I guess he posted it somewhere in the dev channel even. This one. So I can take this image. I will use it like this. Take the release. This is the tag. This is the Libra, this is the tag. I will call this release 560/OD. And then I will start. So there is, as we said, we have the different tasks. So for example, there is a task Docker build. And the build takes care of building all the images. So as you see, there is build the builder, or build the source, or build the production. So when I do build, then it builds all the images. And then yeah, of course it will take some time, but I am now creating first locally the images from his branch. So of course I will create the Rust image. Once you do it once, then you don't have to wait for building the Rust. So it will be cached, and then you can build multiple branches, you can build multiple images. And then the other task will be task Docker push. And then this pushes it, in my case, to my Docker hub. But if you have another, if you configure this to your Docker hub, of course you push there. And then once it's there, you can just, when somebody wants to, for example, use this rehearsal branch, or I don't know, do the smoke test, what we were doing last time. All I was doing basically just changing the OL image to the v6 rehearsal tag, and then repeating the following. Back then we were creating a new account, so we were doing the OL keygen, or I think the keygen first, or onboard user, or whatever. But every time I think it's here even. So if I go to root, and then I have the vtestnet. See here, I have also the operations, and I was having I think GitHub token, can use that. It expired. Yeah, we were using the Nima branch from Nima, and the branch OD wizard Genesis, or so on. You can see that I already have like a lot of servers, and each server has a lot of workspaces. Each one is doing something specific. One that I'm using to do some debugging, because I want to figure something in Rust, and the other one I'm launching multiple towers, and the other one VFN, and the other one what we were setting, the actual validator basically. So now I think I talked a lot. You can ask me something.
That's brilliant.
If we had this setup, it would have saved us a lot of time during our rescue missions, which I hope we don't need many in future.
Yes.
Yeah. One question, did you think through security with this one? Because over there we are always using root inside the containers. Is the container shielding it enough so that the execution?
Good. So it is one of the in the bottom to-dos that I need to use smaller images. I want to tighten up a little bit the security of the image, and this can be done not by so many things. So for example, if we open the Dockerfile, as we see, we are using Ubuntu for the Rust. That's fine. and then using it all the way till the production. In the production, we are also using Ubuntu, so this can be Alpine or can be something else, even distroless or any image that does not have the tools that can allow you to shoot yourself in the foot. So I'm not using that. And then I'm also not using the directive user. So for example, I can create a new user, give this user permission to only run these binaries, and then also use an image that has better security than just Ubuntu. The only thing is that when you want to use another image than Ubuntu, for example Alpine, then the building process, the make bins, is expecting to build for Ubuntu. So the binaries that you get here don't work on anything other than Ubuntu at the moment. So for example, if you want to build them on Linux, on Alpine Linux, then we have to pass a kind of different target to the cargo build process. I don't yet know exactly the exact flags, but this is like one thing that I'm really keen to do quickly, because by doing this you are building smaller binaries, you are using a much smaller final image. At the moment it's 200-300 megabyte, but could be much less, and you also gain from having like a tighter security. But here where the security work has to be done somewhere. Open a pull request, we'll gladly check it out, review it, merge it.
Honestly, I wouldn't care at all about a 200 megabyte image. I mean, that's in my experience, these images, they download so fast that's really never a problem.
Yes.
But if once we are in production and if we have any sort of success, then it will be surprisingly how creative people will get to somehow hack something. They will get very creative.
Yeah.
Somehow infiltrate us or hinder us or whatnot. And I mean, everybody can see all the files that we're using, the node software and so on. So if we could do this kind of tricks, like for example, starting with very secure operating system as a prerequisite, and guess what? It directly comes with the container. I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I guess this is really the, for example, for Cosmos, this is a kind of a common thing. I'm trying to find where the Docker images are. I know. I don't see them. Even from Azure. I know that we have some repository for images, yep. And then we are creating where is the list of images? But definitely, like, people who are working with Cosmos, for example, they issue images for others to use. These images are kind of tight in terms of security. They are small. They follow some kind of sensible defaults and so on. So this is something that we would like to also have eventually from similar process, whether it's the OL operation or some other kind of internal native to the repository, to build these images. Normally other people do them. I mean, Strangelove is one of the ventures, but I know that there are Notion and Bolkachu and some other people that they also release their images for the Cosmos community to use. And Cosmos has like hundreds of different blockchains, so they share like base images, and then they kind of flavor them with some configurations and so on. But yeah, definitely launching in production, having smart contracts and so on, would make more sense. Having, if not Kubernetes, which is also the way, then at least Docker Compose to start with. But even though, I mean, the next step is to basically define the services, like, okay, this is the validator service, it comes with this and this and that. And funny enough, we have all that. So if we open the Libra, it had so it has some Docker, many images, but it even has Helm chart. So it has a Helm chart for the validator, and you can see that there are all the different Kubernetes resources. So let's see what the validator YAML is. A service account, a secret, persistent volume claim, the service, the stateful set, whatever needed, network policy, and so on, whatever needed to launch a validator. So even we already have this. It's just that I doubt if anybody is using it. There is even, I think there was Terraform I saw one time. Yeah, even Terraform. So you could, the whole infrastructure of the of setting up the machine of the validator, and they took the time and created it for 3 different providers even. So you go to the AWS and you find that you are creating, I don't know, let's see what's in the main. Just calling other modules basically. Then in the cluster, it's creating the Kubernetes cluster. Some files, launch templates for the EC2 instances, node groups. Then what's Kubernetes? I think configuring the thing, storage classes. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely when Facebook created this, they created a huge set of tooling for them to launch these validators. And what we are doing is in like using Tmux, and then like there's maybe 2-3 steps on top of it is Docker, and then maybe 3 steps on top Docker Compose, but then you come to a Terraform, Kubernetes, Helm kind of setup when you say, yeah, I'm really running a network that's made to, launch some currency and used by millions of people and so on, all these good stuff, good things. So I hope that we can slowly reach towards this.
Yeah, but how would that help us in a world of smaller data centers with bare metal servers? Because I mean, sure, big data centers is one thing, but for decentralization, I think we want to be more into smaller places of this planet.
Really, it's something to. Let me. I can't stop my screen. Or is there anything we would like to?
No, we can come back to it if we need to.
Okay, all right, that's correct. Where I can stop this. So yeah, so I was thinking that there is an argument, you would say, launching on AWS is super bad, so let's not do this. But in the end, you are like the government or somebody is providing you with electricity, and someone ISP is providing you with internet. So if you have the ability to package your setup and move from place to place, I think that's enough. But actually launching it on AWS or Google Cloud or something, I don't think it hurts decentralization a lot. As long as you are not like making a contract or something that you are really only tied and to Google services and you cannot launch somewhere else, then yes, then you cannot run away. But if you are using Terraform to set up a bare metal server for you, and then you on that server you launch a Kubernetes cluster, then using Helm or using Customize or something, then it doesn't really matter. You are not locked to that cloud provider. That's why they were also had 3 flavors of the Terraform setup.
Yeah, I think it's good if we are on these cloud providers, if some of our instances are there, because all of them, they are excellent, they're superb in terms of reliability. I mean, try to get your server, to break a server on AWS or on Azure or some. I mean, if one data center goes down over there, they shrink, or how do you say that in English? They switch to the backup data center and so on.
Yeah.
Amazing. No, I don't think they're bad. It's just I believe for decentralization, this is only a small subset of our validators. I think a larger subset ideally resides on a lot of very uncontrolled servers in uncontrolled data centers. I mean, they are much more easy to target and to take out and on for sure than, let's say, Asia, which it's unbreakable basically.
Yeah.
But they are really decentralized. You don't just need to take out the big 3 and then the network is down or something.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think this is our job, is to basically create the tooling for this to happen, because you could leave the people to continue manually setting up their nodes, but this is the thing. This will not bring you professional VCs or professionals, individuals that are interested in validating for you. Because in the end, like for example, I was hearing that it costs around $10 million or so of coins to be onboarded as an Aptos validator, because you have to lock a lot of amount from that. So such amount can be only be available for some VC or something. And then of course these people will not come and unless you have that set up. Maybe if they are too interested and completely taken by your chain, then they will do it, of course. But I think for us to be able to attract these professional validators, we need to work a little bit more on our setup and show that it's possible, it's easy. We have some tooling around what we have, and yeah, we have some troubleshooting and so on. I mean, the current setup is mostly meant literally for these rescue missions. You can see that it has all these task build and task shell and all this. It's because I am expecting the operator to get their hands dirty with different things. But in general, you throw a Helm chart on a Kubernetes cluster and you have some monitoring going on, and that's it. You care about, I don't know, getting funding, and we don't have staking, doing other kind of PR stuff.
Yeah, I'm not even concerned about the validators. I believe we will attract enough good validators, and I think we are already growing a bunch of people who are incredibly good at operating. I'm really not concerned, because I also see what's happening in the periphery. Let's say when it comes to OL, we had this CM TopDoc validator guild, for example, of the people who are in the CM TopDoc Discord. A ton of our validators are there, actually. And this validator guild wanted to offer validating as a service to the OL network, because over there are more professional people in there, and the regular rewards that we pay out was enough incentive for them to offer that.
Nice.
Now, as governance, we were not interested in that. I mean, rightly so. I would not have taken up our offer there either. I was against that. But because I don't want validator as a service in OL, actually. But I already see some people with a lot of money, which are behind this validator group over there in the CM TopDoc Discord. They would be fine just for the bit of rewards that we have to set up a more professional way of validating, a much more professional way.
Nice.
And I think, I mean, we are practically unknown to anybody right now. Nobody, I mean, ask people in crypto, nobody knows the OL project.
Yeah.
Maybe they've heard once in a blue moon about us and never looked it up. You know, let us make some headlines at some point, hopefully good headlines, not like Sui last weekend, but let us make some headlines. And all of a sudden, we have like 100 times more people knowing about us. And then I think we have more than enough validators to choose from who would love to validate for some reward, whatever. And I'm not concerned about that. I'm more concerned about the projects which should build on us, who want to see that we are reliable and safe. And we don't want to see us, I don't know, being down for 3 days in a row. I mean, if we can demonstrate that we fix bugs and we are up again within like 20 minutes or something by distributing an image, that would be something that a builder would probably want to see, a chain that is reliable, because for them it's a disaster if they invest a lot of money in their DApp and then people go away because they can't use it because the damn chain is down. That's a disaster.
Completely understand. Yeah, I see this exactly the case with Cosmos, because there are so many people and so many chains that are somehow, so when somebody these chains, they share a lot of common code, the Cosmos SDK, for example. So when there is like a bug, you will find all these different validators jumping on Twitter, and operation rooms start, and then all of a sudden, guys, there is this image, and then everybody is rolling releases using the new batched image or so on. So definitely seen this in action. Would love to see it with OpenLibra. It's just, again, we are on much smaller scale at the moment, but hopefully with the upgrades, maybe we get something going on, we get more interested people, more validators, and such things will emerge eventually.
No, apologies, I need to drop off. However, many thanks for this demonstration. It looks super cool. I'm in the middle of migrating my node from one provider to another, and so far I thought I would build it the hard way, according to the documentation and the first time I did it, but I changed my mind and I will try to make it happen with your operations.
Yes.
I'll probably be dropping you a few lines when I get stuck and need some help.
Sure.
Thank you very, very much.
Sure, no worries. You're welcome. I'm glad I got one customer.
100%.
All right, cool. Have a good one. Actually, I also want to move on, guys. So, I don't know. Thank you so much for your attendance, for your...
Yes.
If you can circulate the recording, I think there will be many buyers.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Bye.
Ciao.
Thank you for your setup. I already have talked, but I will also be changing to your setup tomorrow.
Nice. Thanks.
I think we need a standard.
Cool. Happy to help. Just shoot me a message. I'm always there. And yeah, good luck, good evening, good day. See you soon.
Thank